here! Get out of here!
I ain't very hospitable.
Welcome back to Recap IT. Today we are going to recap a 2018 American horror thriller movie titled I Spit on Your Grave. A writer who is brutalized during her cabin retreat seeks revenge on her attackers, who left her for dead. Jennifer Hills, a New York-based novelist, travels to Louisiana to concentrate on her next book in peace. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now, without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? She intends to spend the next few months alone in a modest cottage. Jennifer departs after receiving the keys to the cabin from Earl, the cabin's owner. She refuels her car at a gas station along the route. Jennifer is disoriented, so the gas station attendant, Johnny Stillman, provides her instructions to her rented cottage. He then tries to flirt with her, but fails miserably. Jennifer finally arrives at the cabin, which is located outside of town. Jennifer begins working on her manuscript soon after she is settled in. Jennifer notices unusual noises coming from a nearby hut later that evening while talking with a friend. She investigates and discovers just few deadly acids and other harmful items. Jennifer goes back to the cabin and does her laundry. Unbeknownst to her, her video is being recorded. Jennifer goes for a jog in the woods the next morning. On her route, she comes across a cabin that has been abandoned for a long time. When Jennifer arrives home, she discovers that the plumbing in the cabin is clogged. She contacts the property owner and requests that someone be dispatched to repair the pipes. A stuttering plumber called Matthew Duncan arrives at the cabin later and repairs the plumbing. Jennifer is overjoyed and gives him an unexpected thank you kiss. Matthew rushes over to his friends Johnny, Andy Kyrinsky, and Stanley Woods to inform them of his visit. Stanley admits that he was the one who filmed Jennifer's video the night before. Johnny's ego has been bruised as a result of the gas station incident, and he believes Jennifer is snobby and needs to be taught a lesson. Jennifer is still working on her manuscript late that night. She hears strange noises coming from outside all of a sudden. Jennifer goes outside to look around, but no one is there. When she returns inside, she discovers the four men who had entered the cabin quietly. Jennifer is taunted by Johnny and Andy, while Stanley records her video, and Matthew refuses to join. Jennifer begs the four men to leave her alone, but they continue to insult her. Johnny assaults her and holds a gun to her head. Jennifer, on the other hand, manages to flee the cottage and fled into the woods. Sheriff Stork and Earl run into her. Jennifer recounts the events of her life to them. As a result, Stork decides to follow Jennifer back to the cabin. He discovers her drugs and booze there, and he starts to suspect her narrative. As a result, he forces her to stand against the wall and begins improperly caressing her. The four men burst into the cabin. Stork turns out to be one of their friends and begins abusing her. They take her trousers off and instruct Matthew to mate with her brutally. Despite his initial reluctance, Matthew eventually agrees to do it. Stanley has his camera out and is filming the assault. Jennifer gathers her remaining strength and flees the cabin once the men have been distracted. The males, on the other hand, catch up with her and resume their assault. The remaining males then take turns forcing Jennifer to mate. Despite being viciously abused, Jennifer manages to get up and walk to a nearby river, despite the men pursuing her. Jennifer dives into the river to flee Stork just as he is going to shoot her. The men are terrified because they know that if Jennifer makes it into town, they will all be caught. As a result, they begin looking for Jennifer in all possible places, but she is nowhere to be found. As a result, Stork advises everyone to keep looking for her every day. He urges Andy to burn all of Jennifer's stuff and eliminate all evidence in the cabin. He also destroys the tape recorder, which might land them in jail if it is discovered. Stork gives Earl the key to the cabin the next day and informs him that Jennifer has left. Days pass, and the men, with the exception of Matthew, who feels bad for assaulting Jennifer, have returned to their normal lives. As a result, he continues to have hallucinations. Earl calls Stork a month later and informs him that Jennifer is being sought by someone in New York. As a result, Stork informs him that he will speak with the individual the following morning. The next morning, Stanley rushes over to Andy and Johnny and informs them that his camera, as well as the videotape of their assault, has been stolen. Someone knocks on Johnny's door later that night while he relaxes in his home. He sees Jennifer's flip-flop outside when he opens the door. The next day, Stork discovers that his wife has received a videotape. They didn't view the video since they couldn't get it to play. Stork bursts out of the home and drives straight to Johnny's. Everyone is terrified since no one knows who is behind it all. Johnny and Andy are suspicious of Matthew, who may be remorseful for the assault. So Stork sends Johnny, Stanley, and Andy out at night to find Matthew. Stork and Earl go hunting together later that day. Stork kills Earl when he is preoccupied in order to tie up all the loose ends. Matthew returns to the lodge, still tormented by the assault. Jennifer, who is still alive, is there. Matthew tries to apologize to her, but she says it's not enough and strangles him. Andy and Stanley set out the next day to find Matthew. They arrive at the previously abandoned cabin. Jennifer catches Stanley in a bear trap while they are distracted. Andy rushes to his aid, but Jennifer knocks him out. Jennifer intends to torture them to death in retaliation for what they have done to her. She binds Stanley to a tree and records everything that happens, just like he did during the assault. She then uses fish hooks to pin his eyelids open and puts fish guts on his face. She turns on his camera to capture crows pecking at his eyes. Andy is then drowned in a lye bathtub and has his face burned off. Jennifer later goes to the petrol station and knocks Johnny unconscious. She drags him to the deserted cabin and fastens him to the rafters. She torments him by using pliers to pull out his teeth one by one. Then, exactly like when he assaulted her, she places the gun in his mouth. Jennifer then uses a pair of garden shears to emasculate him and leaves him to bleed to death. After that, Jennifer meets with Stork's wife and pretends to be Chastity's new teacher. When Stork speaks with the new instructor, he discovers that she is Jennifer, who has returned to haunt him. He hurries home to confront Jennifer, only to discover that she has taken Chastity to a local park. Stork rushes to the park in search of his daughter, but she is nowhere to be seen. So he goes back to his car to hunt for his daughter, but Jennifer knocks him out. When Stork awakens, he finds Jennifer has stuffed his firearm inside his anus. He asks Jennifer to release his daughter because she is a child. Jennifer tells him that she was as innocent as his own daughter, but he still assaulted her. She then goes about setting up her trap by tying one end of a cord to the trigger and the other to Matthew's wrist, who is laying unconscious in front of Stork. When Matthew awakens, he discovers the bound sheriff and tries to move, accidentally triggering the shotgun, which fires a shell into Stork's anus and mouth before striking Matthew in the chest, killing both men. Jennifer, who is sitting outside, hears the gunshot and smiles, knowing that her vengeance is over. She wreaked havoc on her assailants with a savagery far greater than her own. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.